In the words of the great philosopher Socrates, "He who is not a good servant will not be a good master." This statement brings us to the concept of discipline, a concept deeply ingrained in the wisdom of the Bible. In the sacred texts, discipline is often seen as a path, a guide to a virtuous life. It is not a mere tool for control, but a compass directing us towards righteousness. This idea is beautifully encapsulated in the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 17. "He who keeps discipline is on the path to life, but he who ignores reproof goes astray." Here, the scripture highlights that maintaining discipline is akin to walking on the path of life. It is a conscious choice to stay on course, to learn from reproof, and to not stray into the wilderness of ignorance and folly. Discipline, as we see, is not just about control, but about understanding and walking the path of life. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. This sage wisdom, echoing through the ages, resonates with the concept of the Stoic man as portrayed in the biblical scriptures. The Stoic man, as depicted in the book of Proverbs, is a figure of deep understanding and patience, a man who is slow to anger, slow to act out of impulse, and slow to fall into the trap of folly. Proverbs 14:29 bears testament to this, stating, "Whoever is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly." The Stoic man in this context is not a man who suppresses his anger or hides it behind a mask of indifference. Instead, he's a man who understands the root of his anger, the triggers that ignite it, and the consequences that follow when it is unleashed without thought. He knows that acting in haste often leads to regret, and so he chooses to respond rather than react, to understand rather than judge, and to listen rather than speak. Again, in Proverbs 19:2, we find another portrayal of the Stoic man where it is written, "Desire without knowledge is not good, and whoever makes haste with his feet misses his way." The Stoic man, then, is not one who rushes headlong into fulfillment of his desires. He understands that acting on impulse without understanding the consequences often leads him astray. He knows that the path to wisdom is paved with patience and understanding, not haste and ignorance. These scriptures paint a picture of the Stoic man as someone who embodies patience, understanding, and controlled action. He is not a statue devoid of emotions, but a vessel that harnesses them, controls them, and uses them to his advantage. He understands that his emotions are not his master, but his servant. They do not control him. He controls them. The Stoic man, then, is not one who is devoid of emotions, but one who understands, controls, and uses them to his advantage. As Confucius said, "The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones." This ancient wisdom echoes in the teachings and scriptures of the Bible, reminding us that the journey to a disciplined life is one of small, consistent actions. It's about carrying away those small stones day after day until we've moved our own personal mountains. Consider the words of James 1:12. "Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him." Here, we're encouraged to remain steadfast, to persevere, to not just face our trials, but to endure them with grace and dignity. It's about standing the test, about showing our resilience in the face of adversity. But how do we achieve this? How do we remain steadfast when the world around us is constantly changing, constantly challenging us? The answer, according to the scriptures, lies in discipline and stoicism. Proverbs 10:17 tells us that whoever heeds discipline shows the way to life. It's a call to action, a reminder that discipline is key to leading a righteous life. And what about the Stoic man? Proverbs 14:29 and 19, to provide insight. "Whoever is patient has great understanding, but one who is quick-tempered displays folly. Desire without knowledge is not good. How much more will hasty feet miss the way?" The Stoic man is patient, understanding, and does not act in haste. He is the embodiment of discipline, the epitome of stoicism. Incorporating these teachings in our daily lives is not an easy task. It requires commitment, patience, and a deep understanding of the scriptures. But the rewards are immeasurable. Perseverance in discipline and stoicism leads to a life of wisdom, understanding, and ultimately fulfillment. Remember, the path to becoming a disciplined Stoic man is not an easy one, but it is one that leads to a life of wisdom, understanding, and ultimately fulfillment.